In the game of Dragon Ball Fighters, there are characters that are blessed whenever we talk about neutral game. From long range, the main go-tos are Rapid Ki Blast and Beams. And these allow characters to play neutral from long range and kind of just test their opponent to see what they're going to do and maybe even get some free hits in the process. However, not every character is so blessed. Some characters only have one Ki Blast at a time, and they may not have a beam property at all. It's much less one that goes full screen. And so what do these characters do to navigate the chaotic neutral game of Dragon Ball Fighters? Well, today's topic of discussion, the Lariat. Now, Lariats in Dragon Ball Fighters, I would say at first were not insanely impactful, but have since grown to be some of the most impactful moves in the entire game. And where do we start when we talk about Lariats? Of course, you see the character I have picked on the screen. We got to start with Bardock. Now, you might be wondering, you might be asking yourself, why are we starting with Bardock? He's a season 1 DLC. He wasn't in the game when whenever the game dropped. Well, Bardock's Lariat has kind of transcended it's transcended fighting games. It is more than just, a Lariat within Dragon Ball Fighters. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at the glossary for fighting game terms, underneath the Lariat term, you'll see that Bardock's Lariat is listed there. And it's because it is the prime example of a Lariat. And so Lariats and Lariat adjacent moves such as like tackles and whatnot. I'm going to be talking about a little bit of all of them here because some moves look like tackles, but they're actually functioning as Lariats in this game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But when we talk about Bardock's Lariat, to start things off, it actually used to be better than it is now. It used to jail into vanish, and it also used to be -1 on block. And so at the time, it was the best move in the game whenever Bardock dropped. It contributed to him being on pretty much every team and being the undisputed best character in the game at the time. But design philosophy for Lariats has changed as time has gone on. And so I'll kind of explain what I mean by that as we get into it here. So the first thing, right, is combo ability. So L Lariat from Bardock leaves you standing, and to combo off of it, you have to spend Vanish or an assist. And that is pretty normal for a Lariat move. Now, characters tend to have multiple versions of Lariats, where the L version, usually you need to spend a resource to combo off of, but the M and the H versions sometimes can combo solo. Now, Bardock's M Lariat is a diagonal Lariat. It's completely different. And so, we're not going to be talking about that as much. But his EX, of course, is the essential Lariat, just a charged up version that goes full screen. But as you notice, the only way that you can combo off of EX Lariat is by spending another resource afterwards, solo at least. You can spend an assist, you can spend Vanish if you want to continue the combo solo. This is an exception. The exception to this rule is whenever your back is the corner, or you have the spacing to where your opponent is in the corner afterwards. But that positioning does not happen very often where you're lariating someone out of the corner like that. But I digress. This also goes for the other two characters that I have picked on this team, Yamcha and Gogeta. So Yamcha's 2-6 L into H and Flash. It does combo. However, it requires good spacing. Well, you can get a combo anywhere technically, but it's definitely a little bit harder. You have to have correct dash timing, and also Yamcha's buttons are kind of awkward sometimes, so people will drop this from time to time. But the spacing of this matters. The pop-up, it makes comboing a little bit awkward from time to time. Like Vegeta, when you hit someone with the EX rocket kick, there's no comboing off of this unless you spend another resource whenever you hit them from this range. Now, if you hit them from max range, then of course you can combo off of it if you don't miss, like I did. And so that's not a problem. But that was kind of the design philosophy for Lariats whenever the game first dropped. Now there were characters like Teen Gohan, who also has a Lariat that can be comboed off of solo with the EX, but things were different back then. There was meter penalty, and usually they were way worse off. So like, for example, when the game first dropped, Teen Gohan's kick moves, his 5-hit combo, his Lariat style move was actually airborne. Whenever the game first started, it was airborne no matter what, and so like you could always 2H it. But they had since buffed it to be just a grounded move whenever he's utilized. So you know, that kind of changes things. That changes things in a big way, and represents like kind of like a trade-off. Whatnot. They want you to use these moves to get in. They don't want you to be sitting full screen and getting kept out by these characters. They don't want those lame zoners to get the upper hand on you. And so there's a lot of different things to discuss when we're talking about Lariats. And so like I said before, like there are moves that aren't that you wouldn't think that they're Lariats, but they really are whenever you think about it. And so like, for example, like God Slicer, right, fulfills the same function as a Lariat. It's a little bit different because it does shoot out all the key blasts first and whatnot, but this is the same style move. It moves, you know, horizontally. It has pretty fast, it lands pretty fast from full screen, and you know, it ticks all the boxes. This one also, you know, gives you SKD if it lands on an opponent. And so like there's a lot of different styles of Lariats. It's not like it's not like there's only one way it can be. In like Blue Goku, for example, is a tackle, right? People like to call this, you know, shoulder tackle, whatnot. But the M version essentially is a Lariat, right? If you notice, it goes pretty far, it hits pretty fast, and we're only talking about special moves here, by the way. When we talk about Lariats, we're only talking about special moves. I could talk about, you know, characters with Lariat normals, you know, Vegeta, Hit, Krillin, but we're not going to talk about those because it gets all over the place. So so how did design philosophy change with Lariat as time goes on? Well, for that we have to go to character select. And so it used to be whenever you use the Lariat style move, you know, the danger is that you have to place it well, because they are able to be stuffed out by a lot of things in the game, like people calling assists and people doing key blasts at you, like I said before. And so at first you had to pick your spots, right? With Lariats like these, you know, if your opponent has something already active, like those things I mentioned, and you tried to Lariat into them, you would just get cooked. Not really much you can do. But this design philosophy kind of changed as they added DLC into the game. And so of course we got to talk about and I would like to mention that, you know, the philosophy kind of changed with later DLC. So like they added in GT, who also has a Lariat style move, and his was very, very strong whenever put into the game as well, but his does not go full screen, and it also, like I said, loses to those things that I was talking about before. And Gogeta, you know, Gogeta has a Lariat as well. You know, there's like a lot of characters with Lariat style moves in the game now. And some only have one version as well. Only one version of the move that can be considered a Lariat. Because like Base Vegeta and Blue Goku, right? If you press EX on theirs, they actually get a move that goes from behind. It's a completely different style of move. And so like their M versions are the ones that go the furthest and can be used to kind of just like, you know, get in. Not that the EXs can't be used to get in, but we're not gonna establish their purposes as Lariat since they're so unique and they like teleport behind you and whatnot. Now, when I say the design philosophy changed with Lariats, what do I mean by that? I mean characters like this, and characters like this, and characters like this. Now, what's different about these characters, Lariats? Well, these characters not only do they have properties to help them navigate the screen, they can ignore key blasts and in some cases ignore assists. If we're talking about Gogeta 4, his Lariat completely ignores all assists and projectiles. Kefla and Labco ignore key blasts. They also yield full combos anywhere on the screen, right? And that is a really, really big deal. That is a really, really big deal. It doesn't matter where you hit your opponent with these Lariats on the left, they will yield full combos and high damaging combos as well, because If you hit them with the EX version, you get pretty much an unskilled combo afterwards. And so they kind of want, this indicates to me, and of course Kefla's, I don't believe Kefla's was like this on release, by the way. I do want to make a note of that. I don't think Kefla's Lariat was like this on release, where it ignored Ki Blast. I think they buffed it with the most recent patch, if I remember correctly. And on top of that, Kefla's Lariat hits low, so it not only goes through Ki Blasts, it goes pretty far, it doesn't go full screen, but it also hits you low, so you have to block it crouching. And if you don't, you get full combo. Pretty crazy, right? But they want you to get in. They want you to get in. They want you to press, you know, your Lariat style move to just kind of, you know, we talk about neutral skips. They want you to get in on your opponent and get your offense started. And so like they've added more properties to moves as time has gone on. And like there's also special cases like Broly, who, you know, his Lariat is slower, but it also has armor. And so like there's a trade-off for him. There's pseudo Lariats like UI Goku, who his move goes full screen, but it's also a hit grab, so it's only active for 1 frame. And it's also slower. Like I said, it's like 30 plus frames in order for him to hit you from full screen with his Lariat style move. So it's like, you know, like I said, what defines a Lariat, a tackle, a Lariat like move? There's kind of a lot. There's a lot of moves in the game that could be considered Lariats if you really think about it. And I actually put together an image that has a list of characters who have Lariats that can hit you from full screen and characters that hit you from like shorter ranges. And I'll leave that in the description so you guys can check it out. But the Lariat, you know, is kind of like one of the defining, you know, archetypes for Dragon Ball fighters. You see these moves thrown out all the time, especially now that EXs are only half a bar, and they also don't have meter penalties. So that thing I was talking about before, where, you know, these characters on the left get full combos for hitting you with the Lariats, they also get, you know, tons of damage. They also don't lose their meter gain anymore, and so you're incentivized to press these moves more often because there are less drawbacks. And so you'll see a lot. You see a lot of the neutral and Dragon Ball fighters played by people pressing these moves, and that's because they're very strong, and they get you through the chaos in a lot of cases. And sometimes they cause the chaos as well. You get, sometimes, you know, I'm sure you guys have seen matches where people are like just zipping all over the screen, pressing their moves, just hoping to get that hit. But they don't want you to be kept out for too long. And so they want you to utilize these moves to their full effectiveness. And it's worth noting that I do not consider moves like, so some would argue that like base Goku and like Jiren, right? Some people would argue that these are Lariats. Well, base Goku pulls back before he takes off, and so like I would argue against it. And Jiren's actually doesn't even hit back that like. So the way I did the tier list was I started in training mode, and I cataloged the characters that can hit you at round start, characters that can hit you after a backdash, characters that can hit you from full screen. Jiren can only hit you from round start, and so like I definitely think it's more of a shoulder charge or a tackle more so than a Lariat. But you know, whatever whatever you want to say, you know, whatever you're feeling. You know, I'm not gonna get into arguments with people about it. Another thing, so there's also more special cases like Gotenks. So Gotenks actually has kind of 2 moves that could be considered Lariats. He has the L version of a spin, which goes through Ki Blasts, and, you know, advances him. Like I said before, it only hits, I believe it only hits round start. It does not hit, it does not even hit backdash length. And he also has Miracle Super Punch, which, you know, can go full screen, and, you know, if the EX version at least can go full screen, and kind of has all the characteristics that we were talking about before. Now the difference between these two is that these are always airborne as well. So like you could always 2H Gotenks for throwing out one of those moves, and they also hit slower than a lot of the other Lariats. You know, Bardock's Lariat hits from full screen extremely fast. Gotenks takes about twice the time to make it to his opponent, even from like mid screen, than it takes Bardock to reach full screen. So just to put that into perspective, not all Lariats are created equal in that regard. So I just thought that this was a very interesting topic, and let me know in the comments below what your favorite Lariat style move is. because my personal favorite, of course, gotta be Bardock. Bardock is you know, to me, the tried and true. But like I said, they've added a ton of moves. There's a lot of moves in the game that could be considered Lariat. So like, I'm sure I'm gonna hear some of you say Vegeta, you know, that his kicks, you know, Zam is a Lariat style move. So like, there's a ton of moves in the game that could be considered Lariat. So I'm very curious how you guys feel about them. Do you think that they're too strong? Do you like the way they are now? Who's your favorite? And yeah, just kind of let me know how you're feeling in the comments below, and also let me know what topic you want me to do a training mode talk on next, because there's a ton of topics that we can do in the game, and so I want to get feedback from you guys because the videos have been doing very well recently. Thank you so much for supporting the assist video and the lab coat video, and I want to keep the ball rolling. So let me know what you want to see in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, take it easy.